Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. Um, I am I'm ecstatic right now, and I got a lot of really cool things to share with you guys tonight. I know that I have been making you guys promises about it probably since August of last year, but finally it is ours. We have it. Njordshof is here. It is a thing. We got keys on Friday, and we are thrilled. Thank you so much, everyone out there, for your sticking through it with us, for your prayers, for your support, for your generous donations. Those of you that have loaned us funds to make this happen, thank you so much. It is a very exciting day for all of us in the Austria Folk Assembly, and especially for our folks in the new Njordshof district. That's right. Each time we get a new Hof, we section off a portion of the country and of the world to be part of that new district. So the new Njordshof district is Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Also, South America and South Africa. And I'm thrilled for our folks there. I'm excited. We're still, this is brand new, so we're doing a lot of planning on getting everything ready for our dedication. We don't want to wait too long on that. Hopefully, we can get that in the next couple of months here, and we'll let folks know as that gets a little bit closer. So that's the first one. That's a huge one, and just a tremendous blessing that we're also very excited about. Another one, and man, this is something that we have wanted to see for decades, really. But over the last 6-7 years, it's been a really big need, and now we're able to finally start filling that need. Past couple of days, matter of fact, the first of this month saw us officially open our registration for the fall to be the first kindergarten class of the Aussetru Academy. The Aussetru Academy is a homeschool program geared to meet the standards of all 50 states. And we're doing some research into trying to meet some Canadian province standards. We didn't know if that would be an option or not, but we're looking into it. I know we've got kids of all ages that want to do their homeschooling. Right now, we only have the curriculum for kindergarten, but we're trying to fix that. Our commitment is that we're going to stay with these kindergartners and complete the next grade's curriculum before they reach that point. So we'll be set and ready for them, and we'll follow them through all the way to see them to success as graduating class of 2035. But we want to go faster than that, and we hope that we can accomplish more than a year's worth of curriculum within that time. So hopefully, as those other grades begin to open up, we will definitely let you guys know. But it is a start, and it's amazing. Huge thank you goes out to the Dean of the Aussetru Academy, go through Robert Stam. He has done a fantastic job. He is absolutely the man for the job. We are thrilled with what he is doing. It's a very exciting time for us. I'm looking, it looks like we already had a question before we even started tonight. So, Hue Manipulation Nation. Absolutely, you can meet folks before you join. We don't want it to be some kind of a hard sell. We'd love to bring our folk home. If I didn't catch on the side, maybe you answered since then on where you live, and we could direct you to your nearest folk builder. But we got people that would be very glad to meet you and explain to you what you're about, what we're about rather, answer any questions, and just get to know you a little bit before you decide you want to join. That's absolutely okay. Sorry, guys, just catching up. You guys had a lot to say so far, and it's only been a couple of minutes. All right, so we got questions here. Another thing to announce, and I'm really big on doing this. I think it's really important. Officially, as of yesterday, we are started on the quest for Fraserhof. Each one of these hofs that we get is a step in a much bigger goal and a much bigger mission that we're all a part of. So as soon as we accomplish one, I want to keep that momentum up, start moving for the next one, even if it's a little ways off. So we are starting to fundraise today. We are starting to try to meet some numbers that we need to make that happen. The first step is going to be paying off the remainder that we have loaned, or that's been loaned to us for Njordshof. But we are actively scouting and working on the plans for Fraserhof. You have a question on the side, where's Fraserhof going to be? I can't tell you exactly where it's going to be because we don't know for certain, but we are looking in the Western Pennsylvania and Eastern Ohio area to start with, and we'll see what that does. But that's our plan. We're very excited about that. We've got some amazing activity in that part of the country, and we're going to watch that grow and succeed and see how fast we can get there. Welcome. Looks like we got some new members over in the chat. That's fantastic. We'd love to see you guys here. We get this sometimes. Morris Taylor, is there a list of approved reading materials for newbies to Ausatru? I think we have some similar lists that we could get you. I don't think we have a just general approved list or a recommended reading list right now, but I want to check on that. We should. It's important. Any of our folk builders in Gothar are going to have great recommendations for someone new to Ausatru. I always recommend The Culture of the Teutons, Ausatru, A Native European Spirituality by Steve McNallen. There's a lot of good books out there, depending on the topic that you want to know more about. But hopefully, and maybe somebody will link up on the side. I know we have a couple of prerequisite reading lists for our Gothar program. I think that may be a good place to start. So some people could help me on the side and try to help see where we've got those listed. If not, that's something that I'll try to round up maybe for next month and have that ready. Tony, I hope you guys do keep me busy the whole hour. I love talking with you guys. I look forward to these every month, and appreciate getting to spend the evening with you guys. Storm Chase, you were really close. It's ALS. Other than that, it's spelled right. Lane got you. Good. Thank you, Gothi Young. I do what I can. Gotta celebrate Njordshof. Those who didn't know, these are the Njordshof official colors, are as close as we can get. I know our green is kind of unique for the Njordshof. But yeah, that aqua green and gold. We're very excited. I know those guys are going to do beautiful stuff down there with that Hof. I'm looking forward to it. Wittensvan Harold is going to go work his magic and head down there and paint an amazing mural of Njordur in his Hof. And very excited to see how that turns out. That should be getting done in the first half of next month. Very excited to see just the transformation in that place really becoming ours. Brandy, I could a little bit. Brandy asked if I could speak about King Ethanoric of the Goths, who is the hero that we're celebrating in June. And he's one of the recent ones that we've added. A lot of the emphasis in the old days, in the free assembly days, in the early days, the Astro Folk Assembly, were on a very small segment of our ancestors who practiced Asatru, often being, I guess, in a way, martyred for their faith during the conversion period in Norway. But and there's a few others like Radbot in Frisia and Hermann in Germany, but the Gothic tribes are very often, I don't know, I think they're very underrepresented for our early faith. King Ethanoric was part of the great migrations of Gothic peoples when they encountered the Eastern Roman Empire, I guess, and into the far end of the Western Roman Empire there. And it was a time where folks were converting to Arian Christianity to interact with the empire and whatever, and they're leaving their ancestral ways behind. And Ethanoric took a firm stand down many of his own tribesmen that were turning their back on their gods, and he rallied his people around the gods of our ancestors to hold on to that faith even in a time of adversity. And he did so with a warrior spirit, and so we honor him and we celebrate him as a true hero of Asatru that he was. Storm Chase Mike, you picked a good time to join. Great things are happening in the state of Florida. Those guys in Florida have had a great momentum now for quite some time. It's just accelerated with this new Hoff, and really amazing things are in store in the Sunshine State. Okay, so we've got a question that I think is comical on the side, but when's there going to be an AFA shirt for fat guys? For a long time, our sizing only went up to double XL. It's a little bit different now. We have a folk builder of ours, Melissa Mills, in Missouri, doing, I don't know the term the kids call it these days, but basically doing shirts to order. So she's making them as they're needed and sending them out, as opposed to us having a whole bunch of stock left over in strange sizes that don't sell. But Melissa can make different sizes for different size folks if we're finding it hard to get the sizes that we need. If you reach out to Melissa, she'll probably be able to figure something out. Morris, I think that Morris Taylor asked a question: where is the present time in the Norse timeline? Post Ragnarok, are the gods mostly deceased? And I think that looks at our lore in a bit too literal of a way. I think that the events of our lore happen in what's sometimes referred to as mythic time or ritual time. And I think the chronology of that functions differently. I think the events of our lore have a chronological correlation, but I think there's a constant cycle of becoming and being and passing away and becoming again. I think it speaks of a lot of cycles. One truth of our divinity is that our divinity are eternal. They live as long as our folk do, certainly. No, I wouldn't consider our gods deceased, but the story of their twilight and their returning speaks to us in a very profound way about the cyclical nature of things and about rebirth. But no, I think that our gods are living and existing gods, and I think there's evidence of that all around us. I think even when you see in the lore when a god such as Balder is killed and goes to Helheim, he's entertained and treated there in great ceremony, and he's still existing and holding holding court there until he returns back to Asgard. So I think that's something to keep in mind. I don't think it's nearly as literal as all that. Um, but theories and whatever aside, our gods are living, and we're experiencing those blessings right now. But I think that's a good question. Okay, folk builder Cody Raynard wants to ask about the importance of honor, both within ourselves and as well as with others within our faith community, within Alcatraz. So, what most of us think of as honor is very different than the conception that our ancestors had, and the modern understanding of honor being your personal value through your personal code that you hold yourself to. That's a very, very important thing. And I want to take nothing away from it. But in the most archaic sense of the word, and you still see it today when you hear about someone receiving an honor or someone being honored by a community, honor was a value, not so much that you placed in yourself, but a value that your community placed in you. So much of Alcatraz is a communal faith that is built around a society and a support system to where your reputation, your dignity, your honor was, a fluid currency that affected your interactions with the people around you. And that honor was your tribe, your people placing a value on you as a man, on your worth. And that had to do with all the things that we think of today with honor, like your ability to stand by your word, your character, your ability to protect yourself, to protect your family, to protect your tribe, to stand up for what's right and what's good. But that's the thing I think is most important to bring up tonight, is that honor isn't just your personal opinion of yourself. In Alcatraz, honor is fundamentally your folks' opinion of you and their value that they put in, whether you are worthy or whether you're not worthy. And that's an extremely important thing I think a lot of us overlook, but it's very important to keep in mind. And I appreciate that point was really brought home when I read The Culture of the Teutons for the first time. It really made a lot of that sink in for me. Alistair asks if I have any insight on Dr. Crawford's translation. I don't think it's meant to be an exact word for word kind of translation of the Havamal. It's very much meant to be conveying the meaning in a contemporary, Americana way. And I don't, the portions that I'm familiar with aren't bad, but I think it's an interesting one to look at after you've read other versions of the Havamal, but I would suggest some different versions before you look at Dr. Crawford's version. I think it paraphrases it in a way that may be easier for you to understand, but I do think that you miss some of the nuance of the more word for word translations. What are my thoughts on the Buffalo shooting, and are we headed towards another civil war in this country? So I'll answer that question backwards, I guess. Are we headed for another civil war in this country? I don't know. What I have seen, and I think what we've all seen, is a very, very rapid polarization of traditionally minded people in this country and of um, extremely liberal minded people. And I think that the middle ground has largely eroded away. And I think that people have moved. I think this is true in the West in general, have moved to one really far side or the other. And there's not a lot of space in between. There's not a lot of commonality. And one thing that I think is, I can't prognosticate on if and when some kind of a hot war will happen. But what I will say is the divide is really concerning for a lot of us, especially those of us, I think the older that we are, the more we see the difference in the time we grew up in and the distance between people now. And something that I think is really challenging is things that many of us more traditional minded folks, our facts are not the same facts that the extreme leftists have. And I found that even within my own family and dealing with my stepmother and some other things, there things that they hold to be true and factual are the exact opposite of things that I believe with all my heart are true and factual. And when we can't even agree on the facts, it's very, very hard to coalesce on other things. And so I do think we're seeing a lot of separation and a lot of turmoil with that. I don't think there's, any great impending civil war anytime soon. Quite frankly, I think that you don't have regions of the country that are drastically different. I mean, you do in some broad sweeps, but you find, very liberal places being 55% liberal and 45% conservative, or very conservative places being 55% conservative and 45% liberal. And you find that mixture throughout all of society. So I don't think it's nearly that clean. But I do think we all notice the strife that we have. And I think that's really unfortunate for the United States and for the world in general right now, unfortunately. Now I think the Buffalo shooting is tragic and really unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate on a lot of levels. I think that, senseless loss of life is always a really bad thing. And I think that people being in a spot where they feel so marginalized and I don't know, so ill-treated that they resort to those kind of things is also a very, very sad state of affairs. And it speaks to what I spoke to earlier. But no, I think the whole situation is very sad. I don't prophesy any kind of, active civil war in this country anytime soon. What I think is unfortunately a time that we're going through with this increased polarization. And I hope that we can come back to some sensible things that make sense to Americans. There's something to be said for the things that made sense to our fathers, to our grandfathers, to our great grandfathers, and going back to some things that our ancestors would recognize. But I think there's value in that. Jilly Storm, you are certainly one of the people that was behind making Nordhoff happen. You helped us a lot behind the scenes. This woman helped us secure the lion's share of the fundraising we were able to get, also donated very heavily out of her own pocket. We thank you and we really appreciate you. Patrick, you can wear you can represent any AFA Hoff you would like, or many of them or whatever. Unfortunately, you could probably only wear one shirt at a time, but no, you're encouraged to support all of the Hoffs and all of our gods. That's one of the things in the AFA. We are hard polytheists. We love all of our gods, and I don't think it takes away from any of them to worship any of their kinsmen, any of their fellow Aesir. So James, oh, okay. Many of you guys may have not seen this. Let me see if I can. Okay, one of the folk builders out there, if you could post up the Fraserhof logo in the chat in case people have not seen it. Those that haven't seen it, the crossed animal heads that we have on the gabling to represent our hofs for Fraserhof are going to be elks. James asked, why elks and not boars? I think that our Gothar for that upcoming Hof district, the Ericsons, would be the perfect ones to answer the question. But fundamentally, the stag is certainly a symbol or an animal associated with Frey. I think boar are more commonly associated with Freyr, but when he trades in his sword and has to sacrifice his sword to win Gerda, he then has to go about fighting with the antler of a stag, and that's the weapon that he uses in his battle at Ragnarok. So the stag has become associated with Frey, and I think that over the years, his association with the abundant forest has certainly been part of Freyr's cult. So I think that's why we went with that. The stag is in what's called a hunter green. It's a really pretty logo. I hope they can throw it up over there on the side that you guys can see it. If not, we have it posted other places. But yeah, I think they came up with a really beautiful logo. King of Cheese. Dr. Crawford is not friendly with Folkish Ausatru, unfortunately. And that's, yeah, like I said, that's unfortunate. The Salutrian. Where in Florida is Njordhof? We're being a little bit close-lipped about that while we get through the next, I don't know, week and a half, 2 weeks here. More information will come as we get going. But you will find out. It will wind up on Google Maps here. We're just waiting to file certain things and get some stuff settled. But I do want to. You said, why did we choose that building? I wish that I had some great mystical answer for you, that there were great signs and portents and whatever else. Unfortunately, no, a lot of our choices are economic choices. We did look long and hard. We found a number of buildings. We're very happy with the building that we got, and even happier with the piece of property that it sits on. I think we got a good deal on both, but the building really was an economic choice. Florida is an interesting state. It has an amazing amount of churches that we could get if we had $8 million to put on them. They have these amazing, huge church campuses there, but all of those things are a little bit outside of our price range right now. So we looked for a number of churches that were within the ballpark of what we were shooting for. This one met those, and we had good fortune while pursuing it. And this is one we ended up with. But it's both a geographical and an economic decision at the end of the day on this particular location. Austin, do we stem from several gods instead of singular God based upon our faith? I don't think based upon our faith. I think based upon our reality. We believe very much that when you say we, I wonder if that's a humanity question or us as Aryan men and women of European descent. I certainly believe that our people stem from our gods, and yes, from many of our gods. It's an important thing about who we are as Ausatru are, is we are polytheists. We believe in many gods that are involved in our divinity and that connect us to the divine. I think that it's, I don't choose to define other groups of people's faith or how they came about, but I would assume, and I certainly respect, indigenous gods of different cultures being the progenitors of their people. Yeah, I hope that gets at what you were asking. Does paganism originate from evil satanic doctrine? Not at all. There's nothing inherently evil about people worshiping the gods of their ancestors for thousands of years. There's nothing satanic about a pantheon that does not include Satan. It's very presumptuous for Middle Eastern faiths to project their god and their devil on groups of people who've been practicing a faith completely independently for thousands of years before the other was thought up. But no, there's nothing satanic or evil in authentic doctrines of pagan faiths. Sorry, guys, I'm catching up with the chat on the side. It's so great to have so many of you on here, but it does mean every now and again I got to stop for a second and see who's asking what. Okay. Vrilvanier. What's the purpose of kindreds? Is it necessary to be part of one? And how does one go about creating one? Purpose of kindreds, the AFA kindred is basically a local congregation of AFA members. I think that's the best way to put it, but there's a caveat to that. A kindred is much more of a tight-knit group of people that share a lot of commonality than just like a standard typical Christian congregation. You don't need, that being said, just because you're an AFA member in an area does not mean that you're necessarily invited to or would gel with a particular kindred. So we have many kindreds sometimes overlapping in the geography that they're in. Before we had Hoffs, the kindreds were kind of our best point of, I guess, local AFA identity, to where far-flung groups of AFA members could rally behind some heraldry that was theirs and feel like they were a part of the greater whole in that kind of way. You absolutely do not have to be part of a kindred to participate in the Austria Folk Assembly. You also many times don't have to be a part of a kindred to be invited and welcome to events that they host. That depends on the individual kindred, but no, you don't have to be a part of a kindred to be in the AFA. I wouldn't worry about that at all. If you were interested in forming an AFA kindred, first, to join an AFA kindred, I'd find one close to you. I'd get to know the members, and then that's a decision for you all to make down the road when you know each other a little bit better. If you wanted to start an AFA kindred and there's not one in your area, or you just don't feel like it's a good fit and there's, other folks you'd like to have a kindred with, the basics of that are having at least 3 AFA members, and the 3 AFA members would then apply for kindred recognition. And I should know this, but I feel like it may have changed recently. We had a year probationary period. I don't know if that's 6 months now or if it's still a year. I feel a little bit embarrassed. I don't know the answer to that. Hopefully our kindred coordinator over on the side, Jason Gallagher, may be able to answer that better for you. But there's a probationary period that you go through to see if you guys gel well together, if the members stay on the same course spiritually, and if time moves you guys together or if you guys drift apart. So once you're done with that, you would be recognized as an official kindred to the Astru Folk Assembly. Matter of fact, we've had, I believe, 3 kindreds become official here within the last month. Alistair, how much am I looking forward to Steve's next book? I'm really looking forward to Steve's next book. I don't have a real understanding of a timeline of when that's going to come out, but I know it's a subject and something he spent a lot of years focusing on, if I understand what his idea for the content is. And And I think that'll be really good. And I think it'll probably be really good for personal ouster practice. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I wish him the best with getting that set up and distributed. But yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to that book coming out. And I know he's excited about it too. Okay, Morris has a question. Is there a resource on how to financially survive when canceled? Um, I'm trying to think, like there's not a precise like a website or something I'd direct you to, or a book or something I'd direct you to. But there's been a number of people that have suffered persecution in the workplace for their faith, or for, you know, their views not being far left. And we've had a lot of people who've gone through that, and a lot of people who've come out the other side. You know, a lot of people that have dealt with that and been just fine and figured out, you know, a new career path and gone someplace where they were appreciated for who they are and what their values were. I would certainly look and ask those people if there's a specific legal situation involved. Our law speaker, Alan Turnage, might have some advice on that. Um, but it's not the end of the world. It's very easy to see ways that it's really easy to see the doors that become shut, but sometimes it's harder to see the doors that are open. And there are a tremendous amount of doors open for you to exist and to exist authentically with who you are and what you believe. They may be harder to find, and they may not be in the career path that you're currently on, depending. But there's a lot of hope out there, and there's a lot of great things. We know about all the negative stuff, but I think it's time that we focused on some of the positive things, because there's tremendous amounts of opportunities out there, and we see people succeed and win every day. Um, okay, we've got I've got a question. Jilly suspects that non-whites are actively being recruited into the U.S. military, and they're mostly anti-white and wouldn't be on the side of white folks. What do you think? I think there's a lot of things going on in the United States military that are contrary to things that we would like and that are not in support of our values, unfortunately. And that's really sad, because we've got a lot of amazing folks that have put a lot of years and put a lot of their own safety at risk for their nation. And it's unfortunate that a lot of those values are rapidly changing in a very bad way. And I think that, you know, they are certainly trying to recruit people that don't share the values the rest of us have. And I think that the people that they're trying to recruit um, are often non-white, but I know that they're, you know, recruiting a lot of white people as well into the military. But I think what's perhaps more concerning is they're trying to recruit exclusively leftists and weed out folks with more traditional values. And I know that's hurting a lot of our people. And I've got friends that I'm very close to that are hurt by the push to make everyone share the same political values in the military. And I find that really, really unfortunate, the way that's going down right now. Hmm. Unfortunately, my wife is telling me that you guys can't post pictures over in the side. That's okay. Um, we'll post more about it. You guys will see the Fraserhof logo in more spots. I want to look at something else that I had. There was a couple of questions that I had before this that I want to make sure I get to before I go back to the live questions. So one of our folk builders wanted me to ask, and I feel like it's a good question. If you're, and it's not just rhetorical, if you have a good reason, post it on the side and, we'll think about it and maybe take it into consideration. But question is this: if you're listening to these and you enjoy them and you agree with our position, are you an AFA member? And if you're not an AFA member, why not? And yeah, that's a suggestion that you should go ahead and join up, but it's also a question. If there's something keeping you back, I'd be curious to know. Uh-oh. Got a special guest. Got the most beautiful little girl in the world right here, my daughter Aubrey, and she always likes to come on and see you guys when I am doing these each month. I am but I'm always proud to show her off to you guys. She's kind of squirmy, so I don't think she's going to be with us super long tonight. Made me lose my place. All right, what else we got here? I've got a couple others I'll get to here in a second that were asked before we started it. Who do we talk to about hats, shorts, and more shirts? You talk to folk builder Melissa Mills, mmills@runestone.org. She's working on that. We're working on some workout shorts and workout tank tops right now. And I know she's going to get some t-shirts up for Njordshof here very soon. Back to the questions that I didn't get to because my little daughter distracted me there for a second. Okay, typically the Feast of the Einherjar is observed close to Veterans Day. Would Memorial Day be a more appropriate day to observe it? I think both are appropriate. Honestly, I think any day would be an appropriate day to have it. The value of doing it on Veterans Day is the tradition, the fact that we've done that for decades now in Alcitrue, and it's picked up steam, and the feasting and the celebrating at that time of year have really taken on their own value because of that tradition. If we went back in time and chose to put Feast of the Einherjar on Memorial Day instead, I think that would have been, completely appropriate. But I think there's a tremendous value in keeping it where it is, and I certainly don't think it's wrong where it is. But the value, like I said, is in that tradition. Did our ancestors accept the practice of polygamy? And does modern Alcitrue accept this as a form of healthy families? So when we talk about our ancestors, we are talking about the people of Europe and large chunks of Northern and Central Asia during thousands of years of migration. Yes, there were circumstances and times to where members of our folk did practice polygamy. Most often in our history, that was reserved towards royal houses. And there were times to where, that made some sense. Modern Alcitrue does not accept this practice as something for healthy families. And the reason is, I don't know, there's several, but one of the things, and Tacitus spoke about this, the marital values of our folk were remarkable for the time that Tacitus and the Romans encountered the Germanics. And I think there's something to that. I think that in the day and age that we live in, practicing open polygamy draws a lot of negative attention and puts a lot of confusion on our children. And for that one outlying couple that choose to practice that, for the rest of us to accept that and have that around our children and our families, it's unnecessarily confusing for these children that we're trying to raise. I think so many things like that have a lot to do with the social context. And I think that polygamy in today's social context doesn't make sense. And like I said, goes to sully and erode the dignity of our folk and our ability to stand with our head up amongst regular people. And it confuses our children. And I want our children to be raised in a healthy way, in a way that's going to yield good families and good value, good self-esteem, and and a solid foundation to pass on to their children. And I don't think that we are in a place where polygamy does that in this day and age. And I certainly don't think there's any sort of divine mandate that we must do it. So if there's no spiritual reason that we ought to do it, I think it's something that we probably aren't best served by doing and incorporating in today's day and age. Another question, story of Tyr and Fenrir. Even though the gods had taken Fenrir in when he was young and eventually bound him, he still ends up killing Odin, which they were trying to change. Does this show that even though we are free to shape our life according to our skills, our end is predestined? No, I don't believe so. I think that the predestination thing plays too heavy-handed a role in, I don't know, in 19th and 20th century conceptualization of the Viking era. What I think that story does teach us is that chaos is always dangerous, and that the quest is to always stay one step ahead of the chaotic forces that seek to devour us. You see that over and over and over again in our myth cycles. You see that with the wolves chasing the sun and the moon. You know, they're always right in their grasp, and they've got to stay just ahead. You see that in the motion of the sun wheel. So I don't think that tale is as much about predestination as it is about the need to be ever vigilant against chaos, because the second we let our guard down, chaos takes over and causes destruction. So to keep chaos at bay and to keep one step ahead of the chaotic forces that are after us, I think is a bigger theme of that particular story. T-Man, I understand, gas prices are very difficult for all of us. One thing that a lot of us have done is really tried to focus on carpooling. If you can find members in your area to carpool to the Hof, that's going to really save everybody money, and it's going to give you kind of a cool opportunity to get to know some folks and spend some quality time with some members of your folk. So I can't recommend that enough. Where you can carpool, even if you don't know people, reach out to your local folk builder. They'd be happy to get you in touch with somebody that may be convenient for you to carpool with. And it's a really good chance to get to know people and build relationships. Sorry, guys, I'm catching up on the side. You guys are way ahead of me. It seems like time's going by quick tonight. If you're looking for Steve McNallen, old podcasts and old videos, we do have quite a bit of those on this very YouTube channel. If you go look back at our older content, I've tried to post what I can find, but that's a place to look for some stuff too, Alistair. Got so much chat over in the side. This is great. Do ask questions if you guys have any. It's getting close to the 7 o'clock hour, and I'm probably going to let you guys go here pretty soon. So if you have things that you do want me to ask or to address, please make sure you post them up over on the side. Sinister Warrior, are there any services at any of the Hoffs that the public can attend, or is that members only? I wouldn't say that it's members only. There are plenty of services that other Asatruar can attend, but random members of the public that just want to observe something, not so much. I mean, if there was a member and he had family that wasn't Asatru that wanted to come see what we're about, I think that would be okay. But as far as the general community, now I know sometimes, especially at Baldershof, they've had a lot of community interaction. I know they've had, invited locals and folks in Murdoch, Minnesota there to come sit down and, have kind of a meet and greet at the Hof. And those things do occur periodically. I know out at Odenshof around Yule time, we'll open up for Yule and do a toy giveaway and hot chocolate and story time for local children. And that's a time the community can come out. At each of our Hofs, every month we do a food pantry where we give away food to the community. That's the time the community members are welcome to come out and meet folks at the Hof and see it and get to know us there. So I think those are the opportunities. But as far as an actual worship service, that's done with other Asatruar and their families. Glad to see you here, Bobby. Okay. Morris asks, in the Eddas, there are some heroes that do bad things. Is also true belief that people are not good or evil, but mostly accountable? I mean, I suppose that's one way of putting it. People are not perfect. And I think that's something that does come through in our lore. Like our heroes struggle and, have to make oftentimes actions that are making the best of their circumstance or balancing conflicting obligations. I think I would say in also true that we don't believe that, people are 100% good or evil. We think that people ought to be guided by nobility and by their better selves and should strive towards that. I don't think we're under any illusion that everybody's going to be perfect all of the time. And there's situations that call for actions that other situations wouldn't call for. But I think the idea of accountability that you mentioned is a fundamental to what we do. When you incur a debt, you need to pay the debt and make it right and move forward, as opposed to, washing a slate clean, as you see in other faiths. No, you need to atone for the things you've done by making them right, by fixing and repairing what you've broken, by repairing relationships that you've broken if you wish to continue them. Uh-oh. Sorry, guys. My computer kind of jumped on my scrolling there. All right, guys, I'm trying to keep up on your conversation on the side here. I know there's some dead air going on. I don't do it on purpose. Thank you. My daughter is very cute. I'm glad that you think so, EW. Um, I am so very, very lucky to have Aubrey in my life. We had her a little bit older. My wife and I were both 39 when we had Aubrey, so it's really special that we have her. Okay, we've got Storm Chase Mike asks, have a question that I've had to worry about being a new AFA member. I've been married for 22 years to a Spanish lady with a 15-year-old son. Would that be a problem? She is still Christian. If she is a Spaniard, that would not be a problem. Spaniards from Spain are absolutely our folk. Um, if her son is also a Spaniard, that would not be a problem. Her still being a Christian might be a problem for you and your family. I always think it works better when a family is united by their faith. I think that's one of those fundamentals that puts a lot of strain on a relationship if that's not resolved one way or another. I would love to see your wife choose to become Alsa True. But no, I don't think any of those things that you mentioned, the way you mentioned them, would prevent your participation at all. And your wife may change her mind on some things when she comes around and meets our folk. That's the hope. And I think that one of the biggest things, even if someone is not currently Alsa True, if they open up their heart to the gods just to see, I think they'd be very surprised, and often are very surprised with the results. We've had a lot of people attend AFA gatherings, and spouses or family members who didn't start out as Alsa True that have really embraced it, and that's changed their life for the good. How do I get AFA flags looking so crisp? If you look at this one, it's still got the folds in it from the bag. The other one I've just had for a very long time. A lot of people have different ideas though about putting them in the washing machine with, a damp rag and seeing how that goes to get the creases out of them. There's a lot of tricks out there on the flags, but as you can see, I'm not necessarily the guy to ask about those tricks. But we see a lot of the tricks coming in on the side. I see people already have ideas on what you should do with those. Uh, mm, so much going on in the chat. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to keep up and trying to see if you guys have questions. I don't mean to be elusive. Something else to be aware of. Your runestones this month, they're taking a little bit longer because we had a couple of big things happen on the first and then, like I said, on Friday. But this month, the runestone, it was just getting too big, as you guys may have noticed. And that's an amazing, amazing problem to have. It was too full of amazing things that our folk are doing every month. So now what's going to happen if you're a subscriber to our runestone is you will get one that's specific to your Hof district. And if you want to see all the others, that's fine. They'll be on the various Hof district websites, but also they'll all be on the main AFA website at www.runestone.org. But that's kind of a change that Jessica Lambert, our folk builder, who also is the editor of the Runestone, wants me to let you guys know about. Where will the next Hof be? You hope Ohio? You're probably right. Like I said, it's going to be in Ohio or very, very western Pennsylvania, possibly. Hmm. Um, King of Cheese, perhaps. I'd have to think on that. That would be really cool, though. I'm excited that you've got that skill and are going to get working on that. I think forging is a really neat thing. But yeah, let me think on that because we may very well have some things that it would be nice to get forged. Uh, Roy, there is not a date set for the dedication yet. We're trying to iron that out. I've been working on that on the back end. I need to look at a couple of things. I would love to have it maybe the end of July or perhaps the very beginning of August. I'd love to have it in the end of July, but we'll see if we can make that happen. It's not firm yet. You heard that, Odenshoff people? Vril Vanier on the side really wants to connect with some local fellow Alstertour in the Odenshoff district. Same name on Gab or Instagram. So hopefully we'll have some folks can reach out to that gentleman. Will we live stream the opening ceremony for Njordshof? It's a good question. We hadn't thought about that. That's something I think we should maybe consider doing. I'm not sure. We'll definitely think about that. That's the first time that's been brought up as an idea. Roy, we would love to have you come out to any of our Hofs. I know you need to see Baldershof and Jordshof and Odenshof, so we'd love to get you out to all of those. The Portuguese are also our folk. That's fine as well, Storm Chase Mike. Hmm. I appreciate Mandy helping me out over on the side because I believe I'm missing stuff tonight. And that's because there's so much enthusiasm over on the side. I really appreciate you guys. I hope that I'm not missing too much of y'all's questions. Sorry for the dead air, but there's so much to try to follow that I'm doing my best on it. But I'm really glad so many of you joined me tonight. So Mace, I would recommend books by Edred Thorson. I think he is absolutely an expert on the subject matter he writes about. I know that people have varying opinions on him as a man, but as an author and as a rune master, I think he's untouchable. I think he's very good at all of those things. He has spent his entire adult life as a practitioner of paganism, of runic magic, of esoterics. He's also spent that time being a lettered scholar in the subject. I think he is the most knowledgeable person living when it comes to runes and all things runic. And I would highly recommend many of Edred's books. Pam, Idaho is in the Odenshof district. Again, I wish I could throw a picture up because I could illustrate where the different districts are. That picture will be going up on the main Runestone site, though, to help understand. But Idaho is in the Odenshof district. The Odenshof district website is www.odenshof.org. All right, guys. I think I'm finally down to the scroll to the bottom of the chat. Does anybody else have any questions for me tonight? We'll give it just a couple more minutes here in case anybody has any last minute questions or things they wanted to get me to speak on, and then I will let you all go. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. What an amazing start to this month. I want to thank everyone who helped make it possible. Every one of you out there that donated and went to your altars with it and helped loan money to get Njordshof. What a wonderful thing to do for us. More importantly, what an amazing thing to do for Njorder. Hail Njorder. Until next time. Make it out to Midsummer in California if you guys can. I almost forgot. Our biggest event of the year. We've already got north of 150 people planning to show up. If you can make it out to Odenshof in Brownsville, California, here in just a couple of weeks, we would love to see you there. It's, like I said, it's our biggest event of the year. It's going to be amazing. Would love to see everybody. If not, I hope you have an amazing midsummer wherever you find yourself, and I will talk to you in July. Hail the gods, hail the folk, hail the AFA.